A Football Life is presented by Chase.
Jerry Rice is one of those once-in-a-lifetime experiences that at the end of all of the conversation and all of the thrills and everything else, you still end up asking yourself, how can this be possible? This is one of those situations like Michael Jordan and Albert Einstein and John Coltrane, Jerry Rice. They're really all the same guy, and nobody to this day has figured out who any of them really are. We know what we see. We believe we understand what they have achieved.
He owns just about every receiving record on earth.
I look at Jerry Rice, and I am still in wonder. But I ask myself to this day, who is he really?
You're going to be a football player when you grow up?
Today is the best day of your life. Believe it.
He might be the finest quarterback produced in the last 10 years.
He should be like, that's all I need.
Fortunately for me, I didn't lose my life, didn't lose my job.
Football convinced me that life is a team game.
Rest of your life, nobody can ever tell you that you couldn't do it.
As we're sitting here talking about him, I get chills of knowing how great he was. He changed the game. He changed the way people played that position.
Jerry was exceptional.
The greatest receiver of all time.
He may have been the greatest football player, professional of all time.
Every day, never changed.
The greatest receiver to ever play the game of football.
If I can't do it, homie, it can't be done. Now I'ma let the champagne bottle pop. I'ma take it to the top. Show, I'ma make it hot, baby, baby. If I can't do it, homie, it can't be done. Now I'ma let the champagne bottle pop. I'ma take it to the top. Show, I'ma make it hot, baby, baby.
Rice is behind everybody. He's got it. Touchdown, 49ers.
He always had that fire side of him. If you lit it, if you doubted him, he wanted to destroy you. He wanted to show you that he was better than anybody that ever played.
Do it, homie, it can't be done. Now I'ma let the champagne bottle pop. I'ma take it to the top. Show, I'ma make it hot, baby, baby.
There we go.
I could easily just sit here and say I'm the greatest player to ever play the game, you know, with what I have accomplished on the football field. But I'm just not that type of person. I had that hunger, that desire to want to be successful, and I was not going to let anything stand in my way.
I think if people want to picture a small southern town in the deep South, very few stoplights, if any, a town of a few hundred people, maybe 1,000. Now take that image and go about 10 times smaller, and that's Crawford, Mississippi. Jerry and his family and his siblings actually lived outside of Crawford.
Standing still was not an option for Jerry Rice in Mississippi. Wherever he was going to run.
He's running. He's the running little kid they ever see.
I was not playing football, basketball, or anything, but I would run 5 miles or more, and my mom would look at me and she would say, "Son, why are you doing this?" And I didn't know. Then I would chase horses. If I caught the horse, then I could ride the horse the rest of the day.
Jerry's favorite horse was named Pete. He ride like a Cadillac, ride just like a car. That was the smoothest riding horse I ever seen.
And he was the fastest horse in the community. But it took me like 45 minutes to an hour to run him down. But once I caught him, then I had him the rest of the day, and nobody wanted to race me.
Growing up in Crawford was not all fun and games, mainly because of Joe Rice, Jerry's father. Joe was a hard-working man who ingrained that trait into his children.
They had to do everything right. Jerry told me a story once. He said, I had to do what I was told to do, like I was told to do it.
My dad, Joe Nathan Rice, was a very tough man, very tough guy, one of those guys that didn't say, you know, I love you. And my father was a brick mason, and he would take me to work with him during the summer.
We got a certain age, you know. Dad believed in putting us to work. It wasn't no, you're gonna get up and you're going to work today. It's a tough job, it's hot, it's dirty, it's just a lot of hard work in it. And you gotta be real physical to be able to handle it.
My job was to make sure that my father had bricks to lay. If I was up on the scaffold, I had to catch the bricks.
We had to catch them. Sometimes two, I think we have throwed up high 3, maybe 4 at a time.
As long as I did my job where he had bricks to lay, everything went smoothly. I prided myself on trying to catch everything. If you didn't do that, then you're going to get behind schedule. And whenever you get behind schedule, you lose money because you have another job that you have to get to. And I had a job to do. And if I didn't do my job the way he wanted me to do it, then I would get disciplined. It just taught me to work hard and just really appreciate everything.
Up next,
getting my degree and being able to find a nice job, that would be it, because I didn't want to do what my father did. I didn't want to do what my father did. It's a great livelihood, but I just felt like it was way too much work. I wanted to make it to the NFL, then just make life a lot better for my family. Archie Cooley told me that they were going to be doing some great things with a wide open run and shoot offense. So I felt Mississippi Valley State University gave me the best opportunity to showcase what I could do.
Jerry's work habits were very developed when he came to Mississippi Valley because of his father. He didn't mind practicing because he wanted to become a #1 draft choice in the NFL. His hand was something. He could catch most things because you can catch a brick all day. You know, it's got to condition your fingers to catching anything that hit them. He had very long fingers. He always caught the ball with his hand. And that was a good sign that he could be a good receiver.
Jerry Rice became the centerpiece of Archie Cooley's innovative no-huddle offense. With rocket arm quarterback Willie Totten launching passes into orbit, the Delta Devils grew into an unstoppable scoring machine, dubbed the Satellite Express. When opponents began to double-team Rice, Cooley had his star receiver impersonate teammate Ron Hill.
I'm gonna change Rice's jersey, give it to Hill, and he give him Hill's jersey.
He just felt like if I put on a different jersey, that would, you know, throw them off just a little bit. That was hard because, you know, my number is 88, and to put on something like 45, it didn't feel good.
Now they be covering Hill as Rice. 45 catching all touchdown passes over here, coach. This must be Rice over here. But it was too late. We had them 36-0 at the first quarter.
As a senior, Rice scored 28 touchdowns. During his career, Rice broke 18 Division I AA records. But NFL scouts were leery of his small school pedigree.
This guy from San Diego Chargers said, yeah, I'm gonna find something wrong with Jerry Rice. I said, mighty fine, but I'm gonna say this to you. You gonna get your ass whooped a minute day by that Jerry Rice.
Not everyone was skeptical. 49ers head coach Bill Walsh saw Rice's potential the first time he watched him play.
He was overnight playing the Houston Oilers, And it was a Saturday night before the game, and he was bored, and he turned on the local news, and they were playing the highlights. And he couldn't believe this one guy was lighting it on fire.
In last night's contest, Jerry Rice had 4 catches for 104 yards and 2 touchdowns against TSU, as he and quarterback Willie Totten have combined for an outstanding year.
The book said he only ran a 4.7 40. But what my dad saw was that he had tremendous speed from 15 yards to 50 yards, like he'd never seen before. My dad was already crafting plays before they drafted him on what he could do in this West Coast offense.
He just was in love with him. So we made a deal with the Patriots to jump to number 16 and pick the greatest football player I really believe that ever has played the game.
16th pick in the first round. Wide receiver, Jerry Rice in Mississippi Valley.
You know, I got drafted. I can't believe I got drafted. So I'm running around the place, and I'm so excited. And I thought about my family.
Yeah, I'm telling you.
Now I can help my family, giving my parents a home, my brothers, my sisters.
The whole family was just shy. You can imagine coming, it's just like from rags to riches for us.
Even Joe Rice, the father who rarely uttered an encouraging word, showed his appreciation.
He just told me good luck and that he was proud of me. And those words, you know, that he was proud of me, you know, it meant the world to me.
Within hours, Rice was on a plane for the first time in his life, headed to San Francisco to join a team that won 2 of the last 4 Super Bowls.
Getting off that plane and dealing with the media, very intimidating. And, you know, I felt like I wanted to go back on just to get away from everything. It just terrified me to death. I was scared because I had never seen a city as big as San Francisco. And being around so many great players, I was like, will I fit in?
They used to make fun of him a lot for his accent, for being country, and for not understanding the ways of urban society.
We tease about him to this day that he kept his money in a cassette deck in the trunk of his car.
He did have a unique haircut. And there were nicknames. Some people called him Fifi.
Bert. Bert from Bert and Ernie. So. The first time I stepped on the field, everything was just so neat, and it was just cut perfectly. I'm like, wow, so they want us to run routes on this? Because I was used to something totally different. At Mississippi Valley State, you had dirt. You know, you didn't have all that nice grass.
Off the field, Rice had a lot to learn. On it, he looked like a seasoned pro.
Eric Wright and Ronnie Lott, Carlton Williamson, and Dwight Hicks. As far as that secondary is concerned, it has to go down in history as one of the best of all time. And Jerry was running by him all the time for long touchdown receptions, and it was actually demoralizing.
Going to the pros, what goals have you set for yourself?
Well, number one, I would like to be the all-time receiver.
The brilliance Rice displayed in his first camp didn't carry over to the regular season. The kid who grew up catching bricks suddenly had hands of stone.
Writers were keeping track of how many passes he was dropping and saying what a flop he was.
He was just pressing. He was pressing so hard that instead of looking the ball in, he wanted to score a touchdown. He wanted to prove everybody that the 49ers made the right move to pick him.
I felt like I let my parents down, Bill Walsh down, Crawford, Mississippi. I just emotionally just broke down. And I was in the locker and I was just crying like a baby.
We wondered, was the stage too big? Could this young, talented athlete from this remote program step into the NFL and become a star?
Still to come.
Obsessive? Well, I think that's an understatement.
You know, if I didn't love this game, I wouldn't be doing this.
I feel like you have to go through some type of adversity to have success. dropping footballs and having the crowd to boo me, having the media say that I don't think Bill Walsh should have drafted this guy from this small, predominant black school. That motivated me to go out there and work harder and just to prove everybody wrong.
As soon as Rice learned the offense, then he could concentrate physically, and all of a sudden, boom.
Late in his rookie year, Jerry Rice exploded on Monday Night Football, setting the single-game franchise record for receiving yards. On one of the game's biggest stages, Rice proved he belonged.
Rice is there. Double team this man. Jerry Rice has been absolutely brilliant tonight. He was dropping passes earlier in the year and really got uptight about it. He need never worry anymore.
This year, I went into camp. My mind was made up. I knew what I could do, and I just worked hard at it, and everything just fell in place.
Catch by catch, this son of a Mason began to build his masterpiece.
You know, he's not the fastest guy in the world, but he had some crazy knack to be able to get behind you. And sometimes that pure speed just can't catch up to the football speed.
Pass, though, is complete to Jerry Rice. He's ahead of everybody. Goodbye. 20, 15, 10, 5, touchdown 49ers.
And you knew that if he saw the ball up in the air, he was going to go get it because it was his. Singled up, he's almost impossible to cover. The one game against Atlanta, they were really putting the corner on an island, and he scored 5 touchdowns.
Touchdown, Jerry Rice, number 5.
He did a very good job of reading coverages and knowing where the holes were because of his body language. It was easy to let the ball go early.
Back to throw. They rush. He steps up. He throws. Has Rice open. He makes the catch. He gets away at the 40. It's a foot race. 30. They won't touch him. It's touchdown 49ers. He must be the greatest receiver. He's a bad man.
By the early 90s, if you asked people who's the greatest receiver in NFL history, I think Jerry would have won most of the polls.
And Jerry Rice, what can I say that hasn't already been said? I've heard there's a new TV series coming out based on your Super Bowl performance. Miami Rice.
When it came to fitness, Rice was also king of the hill. For years, the centerpiece of Rice's training regimen was a grueling 2.5-mile run up a mountain trail, a workout that became legendary for destroying the will of well-conditioned athletes.
I'm like, all right, it can't be that bad. You know, I'm very competitive. I had to stop on that hill a couple of times, bro. My back was killing me. That hill is no joke. That man's a beast.
I had certain players that, man, why are you still working so hard? You know, you are like the man. Just seeing my father work hard and being the provider for the family, that taught me how to work hard and also take care of your family. It was this fear of failure that was pushing me. If I had a year where I had over 1,000 yards, over 90 catches, I felt like I had to come back the next year and have a better season.
Right now, I'm just trying to stay sharp. I don't want to really just relax and say, hey, no, I got this job.
Jerry Rice developed this obsession with perfection, to doing everything that he could to be the best.
People understand hard work and how to get there, and you got to do, but they don't understand Jerry Rice hard work. You don't understand the relentlessness.
When we would practice, he'd come out 45 minutes early, and sometimes he would be lining up, covering kickoffs, returning punts, doing things, stretching, working on stance and starts, some routes, some cutting. And then after practice, he'd run more gassers.
Not even a torn ACL could stop Rice.
One night, there was saws going on down the garage, and my dad had sawed his cast off. Said that he was okay. He was ready to play.
2.5 months later, plays in a home Monday night game. He caught a touchdown.
Straight back drop by Steve Young. Throws to the end zone. Caught. Touchdown 49ers, and Rice is back.
While admirable, Rice's maniacal drive impacted his relationships in the locker room.
He was labeled as, you know, probably not a good teammate at one point in time, selfish, things of that nature.
JR was not a guy to gather the kiddies around and mentor them and say, hey, this is the way we do this. He taught by example.
Was he one of the guys? Yes.
Uh-huh. Hey, I didn't think you wanted to know. Hey, we're going to save it for the field.
Was he going to hang out with the fellas? No. Jerry was going to be off by himself. He was off by himself in the shadows. He's a different kind of cat.
That's the mystery of Jerry Rice. We don't even know Jerry, really. I think Jerry, probably the best football player ever to lace him up. But I don't know if Jerry has the relationships that made the game fun. He didn't enjoy the ride. He didn't enjoy the ride.
Highway 101 belongs to Jerry Rice. Next exit, Hall of Fame.
The early part, I was so focused on trying to be the best football player I could be and also proving people to be wrong that I didn't have fun.
Despite the consequences, Rice always wanted more. Not even an 11-catch, 215-yard performance in Super Bowl 23 was enough.
They win the Super Bowl in 1988, and Jerry is named the most valuable player of the game. And after the game, it's traditional that the MVP has the cameras in front of him and says, I'm going to Disney World. But they chose to go with Joe Montana after the game, and that rubbed Jerry the wrong way. He did believe that there were racial overtones as part of it.
Some people have a tendency in moments not to say anything. Some people have a tendency to stand up for what's right. Jerry knew that that was the right time to say what he needed to say.
Right now, you read the newspapers. There's nothing about Jerry Rice being MVP. If it was Joe Montana, Dwight Clark, it'll be headlines all over. I don't know if I'll get any recognition. No, I'm not saying it's racism. You know, I'm really just speaking from my heart.
He was not popular with the media when he made remarks like that.
You've talked about not getting the attention you thought was due. You feel the president? You feel the president gave you that attention today?
Wasn't like they were talking to some apolitical doofus, a blind, obtuse individual who was just, I'm just out here to play football, let's play two today. He was a man, and he wanted to be respected as such.
Coming up.
And you know, I think Deion was a little bit of a rival.
I don't want to answer no question about Deion. Okay. All right.
I just remember the energy in the household was Deion Sanders was not our friend, you know?
I feel like we can make a repeat, but we got to work hard at it.
Pump fake by Montana, launches it for the end zone. Jerry Rice! Oh, what a catch by Rice!
In Super Bowl 24, Jerry Rice finished with 7 catches for 148 yards and 3 touchdowns, as the 49ers won their second straight championship.
We can do it again. We can do it again.
Over the next 3 years, the leadership in the locker room began to change as Roger Craig, Ronnie Lott, and Joe Montana all left the team.
To watch those guys leave, it was devastating to me because I'm like, okay, Joe Montana, how can you get rid of God? That was that extra incentive for me to work a little bit harder, not get complacent.
It was Joe's team on offense and Ronnie's team on defense. Well, now, of the big four, Jerry's the last survivor, and he's the biggest force in that room in a lot of ways because he's Jerry Rice.
We knew that it was important that Steve be able to connect with and develop a relationship with and really grow with Jerry Rice.
Jerry preferred Montana to be the quarterback. He had trouble catching passes from a left-handed quarterback.
So Ted Walsh was the equipment manager for years and years of the 49ers, and he was lefty. And he could throw a pretty good ball. Literally thousands of footballs that Ted Walsh threw Jerry Rice to get him used to a lefty spin. Jerry wore Ted out.
You know, Steve was an exceptional quarterback. I have more touchdowns with Steve than I had with Joe, but being able to adjust to him, I just felt like I had weight on my shoulders.
It was leaders like Jerry Rice that said, you're gonna do it. Everybody knew that if you didn't live to Jerry's standard, you weren't a 49er.
Rice and Young did form a dynamic duo, but it wasn't enough to defeat the Dallas Cowboys in either the 1992
Dallas gets the turnover.
or 1993 NFC Championship game.
It is intense. Tell him what they're doing to Jerry Rice. Jerry ain't doing nothing. I own Jerry Rice.
Didn't like it. I did not like the Cowboys at all. It was a very intense rivalry. It's something you don't get over, because if you care about something, you shouldn't be able to just get over it just like that. That's the incentive for you the next year.
Dallas, your Cowboys are still champions.
We won on Sunday, got on the plane Monday, I came to the Pro Bowl. Jerry Rice comes up behind me. He said, I chased you all year and I couldn't catch you. I want you to know I'm already training for next year. I was like, oh. That's how competitive he is.
Frustration was high after losing 2 times in a row now to the Cowboys in a championship game. We need to help.
Deion Sanders is now a 49er.
You hear about certain players, then you're like, oh my God, he's coming here?
I don't know about that. I'm going to go out there and play ball and have a good time.
I was a little curious if he would be able to come in and do it the 49er way, because we work hard every day.
I think they had the understanding of this is work, this is a job, we got to come in and do it. Now, I came in and said, hey, we're going to work, but we're going to play.
How did Jerry and Deion actually get along that season?
Not very well. Not very well.
Well, I knew that Deion brought a lot of baggage. But I wanted him on the team because I felt like he could help us get to the Super Bowl.
Deion Sanders won the 1994 Defensive Player of the Year and helped San Francisco reach their 3rd straight NFC Championship game against the Cowboys.
Real number 80 is in town today. Real number 80. You got a fake number 80 over there. Crybaby.
We jumped off to a big start and got the big lead on them. And they started fighting back, and right before the half, I was standing there next to Tim McDonald, and you see the ball in the air.
Young goes for the end zone.
And it was one of those deals where we're on the sideline like, oh, Jerry's going to get that.
Rice is out there. Touchdown 49ers. Rice beat Larry Brown.
That touchdown sort of let them know, not today.
The 49ers were on their way back to the Super Bowl. All they had to do now was get along with each other in Miami.
Deion and Jerry had very different approaches. Jerry was always grinding, always serious, and Deion, I think, injected some showmanship and some fun.
When we went to the Super Bowl, Deion's out on the town. And the coach is talking about, well, some guys missed curfew, I'm gonna find them. The players in 49er style said, no, coach, we're gonna handle this one. And as soon as that door shut, it was Deion and JR.
Hey, look, you know, we're not here to hang out or just to have a good time. We are here to win the Super Bowl.
So I stood up and said, hey, you know darn well we're going to beat the brakes off San Diego. If we were home, we would be going out on a Wednesday. I can understand if it's Saturday, but this is Wednesday. Everybody calm down. We got this, all right?
That was the first time that I had seen the two of them, like, really getting upset and really going at each other and really being upset. Like, to where they could come to blows.
There was a lot of pressure on that team, and I think Deion correctly understood this team is tense and stressed, and if they could loosen up and just be great, it would help them. But try telling that to Jerry Rice, whose entire career is based on the foundation that you grind harder, you outwork people. Try telling Jerry Rice to take his foot off the gas right before the Super Bowl.
You know, you have some teams where you just go out there and you just hang out and you have a good time, but when we go out there on the football field, we work.
It's the Super Bowl, and they need a story. They need some kind of controversy. Super Bowl that you know we're going to win by at least 20. And what other story is there to say Jerry and I had conflict? The biggest story should have been that I had a Lamborghini delivered to me in front of the hotel. That was the story.
Once the Super Bowl started, the only story was how dominant the 49ers were.
It's taken to Floyd. Young to the air. Young to Jerry Rice. Touchdown, San Francisco.
Rice caught 10 passes for 149 yards and 3 touchdowns, despite injuring his shoulder. The injury was so bad, he needed help from a teammate to buckle his chin strap.
He is, in many ways, the heart and soul of this football team. Young, quick pass, slant in, Jerry Rice, another touchdown! Wow, what do you say? 3 Super Bowls, 28 receptions, 512 yards, 7 touchdowns. Jerry Rice is the best.
Jerry, where are we going?
We're going to
Disneyland.
Maybe 3 days after the Super Bowl, I went back down to the facility. No one was there, just empty. And I peeked out the back, and Jerry's out there running routes. There's only one guy that does that. He was the greatest player ever played the game. I would say that little story maybe tells you more than anything about maybe why.
Up next on A Football Life.
Bill was always looking to replace players.
If they can do that to Joe Montana, Ronnie Lott, they can do it to me.
By the way, I love your songs.
Oh man, this way I roll right here, baby. The ladies, they love them.
I was at the car wash, man. I had these ladies, they were just checking me out. You know how you throw that leg up and do it like that, right there, and that was it. It was done. It was done. They were done completely. Just joking.
Whatever Jerry Rice is up to, it's guaranteed he'll be the best-dressed man in the room.
He always believed that presentation reflected some sort of achievement or professionalism.
I have never seen a person get ready to play the game of football the way Jerry Rice would get ready to play the game of football.
Get some scissors, let's cut these sleeves.
The jersey had to be tailored a certain way. The towel had to hang a certain distance. The shoes had to be spatted a certain way.
You're talking about a guy that would comb his hair before he put his helmet on.
If there was one thing that was changed or different, I mean, he was a basket case.
Hey, man, it's not white, man. It's pink. Sport girls? Well, they were washed pink stuff on, man. Bronco, come on, bro. That's cream colored.
He'd get completely dressed and just run in place. I mean, like a solid 90 seconds, 2 minutes, just running in place. And then he'd just start cutting stuff off and taking stuff off, stripping his pants off because it didn't feel right.
That's just him being a perfectionist. He says if you look good, you feel good, you'll play good. And that was kind of his philosophy.
No matter how hard he tried to keep up appearances, by the late 90s, Rice was no longer viewed as an elite wideout. Terrell Owens supplanted Rice as the 49ers' go-to receiver.
Throws to the end zone. Niners will win it! Niners will win it!
There was friction between Owens and Jerry.
Jerry was never going to believe that he wasn't target A.
I love me some me.
A lot of the younger receivers that were coming in, they were so vocal, they were so, in a sense, kind of just arrogant. saying, well, it's our time. Let the young ones have their time. My dad was frustrated. It was a tough time. It was hurtful.
The most painful blow came when General Manager Bill Walsh, the coach who once put his reputation on the line to draft Rice, informed the face of the franchise that his career with the 49ers was coming to an end.
It was just like a slap in the face because he had gave so much to that team.
Jerry was devastated. I mean, he thought he was going to finish his career with the 49ers.
He thought he had a few more years. My dad didn't see it that way. And there was animosity.
You know, it was a long time before Jerry and the 49ers ever came back in each other's graces.
San Francisco tried to make it up to Rice by giving him a proper send-off in his final home game as a 49er.
Big game for Jerry Rice, maybe.
Out of the first, maybe, I don't know, 30 plays, half of them, Jerry was number one in the progression.
Garcia, Rice to the one. You could just tell Jeff Garcia right there, Pat, he wanted to give Jerry Rice that touchdown.
I wasn't the only one that knew that. The Chicago Bears knew that. They put extra coverage on Jerry. They were playing cover two, they were bracketing him. When you try to take the best player out of the game, somebody else benefits, and I was on the benefiting end of that.
Before long, Owens was closing in on the NFL single-game record of 18 receptions.
Owens catches it, touchdown 49ers!
I didn't know it until the fourth quarter when Rodney Knox came down to the field and he said, Coach, T.O. just needs 2 more catches to beat the record. I went, what? What record?
Just listening to Steve Mariucci, what he said, well, I didn't realize he had that many catches. I'm like saying to myself, I did.
I kind of caved in. We threw a couple more passes, and T.O. breaks the record.
Here's Garcia throwing quick slant complete to Owens.
He now holds the all-time NFL record.
Needless to say, Jerry was a little miffed. He was bending over so nobody could see him. And he's going, Mooch, this is supposed to be my day, not T.O.'s day. This is Jerry Rice day. And I went, oh, jeez, I know it. He was not going to do the goodbye. And all the festivities that were planned after that game. So I go, okay, go back in there.
You gotta get out on Chicago.
I still believe they're going to do something to give him the ball, just to let the fans go crazy. They're going to throw it to him, I guarantee you. At the 11. Now you're talking. That's what they wanted. You say, do you need it? Heck yes, you need it.
That's the way to end it right there.
But he ended up saying thank you to the fans, and it was carried off by the team, and it ended up good.
I didn't really feel like I slighted Jerry at all. I was doing my job, and I think, you know, if the roles were reversed, I think he would have seen it the same way.
Do I have any regrets behind that? Yeah, I would have loved to have gone out and had an awesome game, but it was okay.
20 catches in one game. T.O. Wow.
In 2001, at the age of 39, Jerry Rice joined the Raiders. In his first 2 seasons in Oakland, he caught 175 passes.
Touchdown again, Jerry Rice.
I still felt like I could play football. I still had a lot to offer. I was going to go out and prove you wrong.
As a 40-year-old, he made his 13th Pro Bowl and helped the Raiders reach the Super Bowl.
I think I'm obsessed with winning. It's just in my nature.
What's going on?
I cannot accept losing.
Tell him to get me the ball.
Like his other previous Super Bowls, Rice had scored a touchdown.
Wide open, Jerry Rice, touchdown!
unlike those other Super Bowls, his team had lost their chance to be champions.
I'm used to winning Super Bowls. That's the only thing I know. Got back to the hotel room, and it all hit me at that moment that we had lost. And I remember on that bed, I started crying like a baby. Because I was just like, man, I cannot believe that happened. And how could you let that happen?
That's why Jerry was phenomenal. I mean, Jerry loved football, everything about it, the meetings, the practice, the lifting, the running, the conditioning, the games. That's always the difference, I think, with the great ones. I mean, they can't get enough of it.
In 2004, Rice joined the Seahawks at the age of 42.
I took a lot of heat behind it, but so what? I still wanted to play. I did it my way. Would I go back and do it differently? No.
He'd been doing it for so long, I think he just couldn't bring himself to quit, but he had to have somebody tell him, you can't do it anymore.
After failing to earn a starting job with Denver at the age of 43, Jerry Rice retired.
I think that's it for me. I'm done. I'm looking forward to the next phase of my life now.
He loved it. And so to just stop cold, it was difficult.
Well, I said I wouldn't do this. Huh.
He who has defined himself as a football player all of his life is all of a sudden not a football player. And if he's not a football player, then what is he?
Jerry, the class act. From legendary athlete to gentleman dancer.
To do Dancing with the Stars for Jerry was a huge risk. This really manly man doing Dancing with the Stars on national TV in front of millions of people, that's ballsy.
I didn't know anything about it, and I just committed myself, just like I wanted to win the Super Bowl. It meant just that much.
He has that quality about him that when he has something in his mind that he thinks needs to get better, he will, murder it, slaughter it till it's not an issue anymore.
Rice finished second on Dancing with the Stars. He finished first while appearing on the 2013 Golf Channel series, Big Break NFL.
From a psychological standpoint, is there a more isolating game than golf? I mean, it is you and the golf course. I think that's something that Jerry liked about the game. And Jerry got so good at it, he was invited to play on the Celebrity Golf Tour.
In Lake Tahoe, the celebrity golf tournament that they do every year. And as the sun is going down, guys go around, they have a practice round, and they're in the clubhouse drinking a beer, having a drink or whatever, except for Jerry Rice, who is on the putting green all by himself, working on his putting game. This is what's pleasurable for him. Whereas the rest of us, when are we off of work? Work is Jerry Rice's pleasure.
When I speak around the country, I talk about work ethic, and that's who I bring to the table. His work ethic says it all. It's how it should always be.
On one level, Jerry's never going to fill the void because playing wide receiver was his masterpiece. But on the other hand, he's always going to try because he's never going to be one of those dudes who's just chilling and looking back on all the cool things he did. Jerry Rice is always going to try to push for the next challenge. So it may not be as obvious to us, but I guarantee to him, he's sitting there attacking every day thinking, I got to go get better at whatever it is I'm doing.
I want people just to respect what I was able to accomplish on the field. Realize that I sacrificed, that I gave everything. And I want people to say, I can't believe he's still a workaholic and he's using that approach for every scenario, even if it has nothing to do with football.